So a few months ago, I did my own sweat rate test to compare it against my Garmin Forerunner 245 running watch, and the results were shocking. Now by shocking, I mean I measured myself over twice as much sweat loss as my Garmin. And there may be some reasons for that we'll discuss a little later in this video, but I thought it'd be worthwhile repeating the test, primarily because I got a new running watch. I got a Garmin Forerunner 265, so I want to compare its results to what I did 4 months ago. Now, when I say compare results, we're not looking at absolute values. We're looking at how my measured results compare to the Garmin. And the reason we can't compare absolute values is the weather conditions are different today than 4 months ago. The temperature is the same, but it's humid, it's cloudy today. 4 months ago, it was sunny and breezy and felt a little cooler. So we're going to look at differences, not absolute values. I'm Ralph, the Ageless Runner. Thank you for being here today. Now, if you didn't see that video, I will link it into this one. However, it's not necessary to watch it to appreciate this video unless you want to do your own sweat rate test, where I cover how to do that in that video. I'm not going to cover that in this video other than to say it involves measurements before and after your run. It's not hard, but there are a few nuances. So if you want to do your own sweat rate test, be sure to check out that video linked at the end of this one. Now, another nuance about this test compared to 4 months ago is I'm running longer. I'm running a couple of hours, so I'm going to be ingesting energy gels. However, I measured those before my run. I'll measure the gel packs after my run, so I know exactly how much gel material I ingested, and I can account for that in my body weight changes. So I think what I'm going to do now is finish my run. I'll go home and make my after run measurements and do a little calculation, and then I'll meet you in the studio and we'll talk about the results. Hey, welcome back to the studio. Before we jump into my numbers, my results, let's take one quick minute and talk about what are sources of weight loss from running. Besides sweat, sweating accounts for the bulk of our weight loss. But we have other factors too. One, of course, is urine. You go out running, you have to go to the bathroom, right? Which is why it's very important if you do your own sweat rate test to not urinate. You need to hold it until you weigh yourself. Now, another factor could be significant, but we really don't know how much because it's really difficult to measure. And that is water vapor we lose when we breathe. You see that you're out running in the winter, you can see your breath. And of course, the winter, the cold, dry air means we'll lose more water vapor than maybe on a warm, humid day. And the intensity of a run can make a difference. If we don't really know the significance of it or how much it is, but we do know it's moisture, so we're going to include that in our sweat loss. We're assuming that's moisture we're losing, whether sweat or water vapor is moisture our body is losing. Now, there are a few other contributing factors. For example, carbon dioxide. We breathe out carbon dioxide. It has a mass, very small. We can ignore that. And of course, we burn glycogen, and every gram of glycogen we burn, we use 2 to 3 grams of water. Again, that's not huge. It is in there, but we're going to kind of ignore that. And I'm going to assume that with the weight loss that I measure from running is all due to moisture loss from sweating and maybe a little bit from water vapor. Now, all my calculations are going to be in grams because the nice thing about water is 1 gram of water has a volume of 1 milliliter. So if you lose 500 grams of moisture, you know that's roughly 500 milliliters. And we're going to assume sweat is the same thing. It's close enough that we can make that assumption. So what was my starting weight? So before my run, I got on the scale and I weighed 190 pounds, which is 86,183 grams. But when I did my run, I consumed some things. I consumed some energy gel, roughly 82 grams worth. And of course, I drank water. I drank 563 grams of water. So I had those 3 up, my starting weight, my gels, and my water. And I subtract from that my ending weight. My ending weight was roughly 188 pounds, which is 85,275 grams. So I do the math there. It says I had a weight loss from my run of 1,552 grams, or 1,552 milliliters of sweat. We're going to assume that all is from sweat, recognizing a little bit of it's water vapor, but we're going to assume that's sweat. But what did my Garmin say? Hey, if you're enjoying this information I'm presenting, could you do me a favor and hit that like icon? The likes help the video and really help my channel. Thank you so much. Now, my Garmin Forerunner 265 said I sweat 2,179 milliliters. So again, that compares to my measured weight loss of 1,552 milliliters. So my Garmin Forerunner 265 are estimated by roughly 40%, 1.4 times. That compares to my test 4 months ago with my Forerunner 245, where the difference was almost twice, 2.3 times, a big difference. So we might say that Forerunner 265 did a little better, although 40% is still a lot. But what does that really mean for us? Now, before I talk about what this means, I do need to mention my bathroom scale that I use for measuring my body weight only reads out to the nearest 0.2 pounds, which is roughly 90 grams, which equates to roughly 6% of the weight loss I had. So my 40% difference, some of that's measurement error from my bathroom scale, but that doesn't really change our conclusion. And the conclusion is that if you're concerned about sweat rate and you want to know your sweat rate to help you determine how much water you should drink during your run, don't use your running watch. 40% is still huge. Twice as much is obviously worse, but don't use your running watch. Do your own test. I do think the running watch would be useful if you want to compare sweat rate run to run, because it's using the same algorithm, same watch, same inputs every run. So for example, today, if I were to do this run today, it's much less humid today. It's a little cooler, much less humid. If I want to see how doing another run today compared to the run I did 2 days ago, that would be something I could probably use the watch to compare. But as far as an absolute value, don't use a running watch. So I hope you found this test interesting. I know I did. It told me a little more about technology, or running watch technology, at least my Garmin Forerunner 265. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you're still with me, it'd really mean a lot to me if you would hit that like icon. The likes not only help the video, but they really help my channel too, and it would mean a lot to me if you did that. And likewise, if you're new here and you're still with me, I'd love to have you become a subscriber. In any case, stay strong and happy running.